You want to get it over? Okay. Elizabeth Bobrick is another one of ours.
Hi. I've never done this either, and I'm kind of a temperamental nature, so if anyone gets near that bongo, I'll have to hurt you. But I promise that I just want to be startled that way. I want to stay with the flow, but I promise this won't be over 10 minutes. Okay. So this is a story about mothers and daughters. And I've given it a title. I'm calling it Up the Creek. We have two daughters. One is 19. And when she was 14, she witnessed me putting my head down on the living room table and saying, "Oh God, I have to go see Grandma, and I don't think I can take it." And she said, Grandma meaning my mother, she said, "Mommy, I'll go with you." I said, "You would?" "Yeah, I will, because she's a sweet girl. She feels sorry for my mother, that she's such a difficult person to be around. She feels sorry for me, that I don't love being around my mother. And she thought she could sort of bridge the gap." She was very, very grateful to her, and boy, did I take her up on it before she could change her mind. So off we went to South Dakota. My mother lives near the Black Hills, which is very, very beautiful, sacred ground to the Lakota Sioux. And she grew up around there. And she has a beautiful little cabin with a trout stream running in the back. So the thing is, in Spearfish, South Dakota, in the summer, as in so many grandmothers' houses, there's nothing to do. You go see Mount Rushmore or some other natural wonders, and then you're done. And it's still 110 degrees. So Katie, in desperation, our daughter, decided she would go and work on her tan out back. So out she comes. She's 14, and my mother hasn't seen her since she was 10. Because I really mean it. I don't like to go there very much. And she comes out in this tiny little bikini, and my mother goes, "Oh, aren't you beautiful? Oh my goodness, look at you!" And then she turns to me and she said, "Does her father let her wear that out of the house?" But at any rate, so I said, "Mother." So Katie has her hand on the back door, and my mother trills, "Watch out for the cougar, honey." And Katie just goes ashen. And I said, "Oh, Mom," I said, "She's kidding." And she said, "No, I'm not. There's a cougar." And I said, "What do you mean there's a cougar?" She says, "Oh, yes." She said, "See, look over there." She said, "See, that's that wooded and rocks. That's perfect for cougars. And they come down. We're encroaching on their habitat. They need things to eat." And I said, "Well, yeah, but she said, "They don't." So I look at Katie and I say that little voice you use to kids when you're trying to tell them not to be scared of something that is actually scary, like a snake. And you say, "Cougars don't come near people. They're much more scared of us than we are of them." And my mother says, "Oh, not really." She says, "Why, that cougar ate a little boy not very long ago." I said, and she said, "Oh, yes," because my mother loves tragical stories. And she said, "Oh, he was playing outside, just 4 years old, and his mother was watching out the window while she did the dishes, and she turned her back, and she turned back, and there was a little bloody sock in the yard. And then she ran outside, and there was this trail closing down." I said, "Mother, no." So Katie's like backing into her bedroom. I said, "Honey, we'll go out back. I'll go out back with you. All right, there's no cougar." And I turned to my mother and I said, "You're out there all the time." I said, "So where's the cougar?" She says, "Oh, that cougar doesn't want me." So it's not that cougar, a cougar she knows. Okay? She knows its longings. She said, "Wish you'd eat the damn deer, though. I eat my tulips and my zinnias every year." So out we go to the backyard. Katie's absolutely shaking with fear. Katie's also scared of squirrels, I should add. But we've gone way off the fear index. And there are, in this beautiful trout stream, there are children bobbing on inner tubes. And I say, "Hey, let's do that. Let's do that." And the next door neighbors have inner tubes, so we get our inner tubes and we wade into the creek. And I am amazed how strong the current is. I can't believe it. So we're braced against the current. And we do sort of a 1, 2, 3, and we hop into our tubes. And while I'm still adjusting myself, Katie shoots off. All right? And I'm sort of pushing myself along and pushing on these rocks are coming up like this. Like suddenly I'm inside a pinball machine and I'm the pinball. And the rocks are coming. It's like a bad ride at Disneyland. It looked like fun, but when you got on, it was absolutely terrifying and you couldn't get off. But ahead, I mean, I can hear Katie screaming. And it's not a fun scream. If you have children, you know the difference immediately between fun scream and fear scream. Fear scream is, "Mommy!" And fun scream, rather. Fear scream is, "Mommy!" Right? And I heard that, "Mommy! Mommy!" And I can't see her, and I'm sort of paddling around the bend, and I find, the hell with it, I get up off this thing, and I try to run, but I can't. My feet are sinking in the mud, and there's all these rocks, and there's the current, and I see her. She has pushed herself out of the tube, and then she's lost her footing. And she's face forward in the water, and she's scrambling, and the current is so strong that she is being pulled around. She is like a rag doll. She is doing like this, not to hit her head on the rocks. She's screaming, I am trying to move, and suddenly I am really moving. Now, I don't believe in magic. I do believe in miracles if they don't conflict with the laws of physics. But something happened where suddenly I'm moving so fast. I'm moving so fast. I feel as though I'm like one of those, a duck that's taking off, and you know how it kind of runs along the water for a little while, or it flaps? And I'm not flapping, but I'm doing that kind of running. I feel like I'm running over the water. And I get to her. I get to her. And she's screaming her head off. She's still screaming. I don't think she even knows that I'm there. I get my arms around her like this, and I yell in her ear, "Katie, Katie, 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 put your feet down, put your feet down, put your feet down." Ah! Ah! She's in total panic, and she slips away from me. And I like, what? Are you kidding me? I ran over the water here. So this time, no more flying. I take these big giant steps. Boom, 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 boom. And I got her, got her. And this time, instead of screaming in her ear, I find this quiet voice. And I said, "Katie, push your feet down. Find your feet. Put your feet down. Put your feet down. Put your feet down. I'm not going to let go. Put your feet down." Finally, she puts her feet down. I'm bent over. We're like 2 parentheses. I've got her like this. And I gradually whisper her up out of this. And we make our way to the bank. And we lie on the bank, panting. And she says a sentence you never want to hear your child say, which is, "Mommy," she said, "you saved my life." And the thing that I noticed about her is that she sounded so surprised. Well, I said, "I'd die trying," which I realized, oh, that's not a good thing to say. But she was still so shaken up that she didn't really take that into account. But she kept saying it, sort of wonder, "You saved my life." So while I'm just trying to get us through this, I've forgotten all about the inner tubes. And out of the woods come these 2 little boys, like two little cherubs with crew cuts. And they hand us the tires. They say, "These are yours." And then they step back into the woods. So we walk home, we walk the long way around. We tacitly agree not to tell Grandma, or she will tell us about the time that the little kid hit his head on the rocks and the brain split open and the cougar went down the creek and ate the brains. So we just don't tell Grandma. So at night, Katie and I are sharing a bed in the guest room, and she's asleep, she's tired, and I can still hear her screaming. Still hear her screaming. And I'm trying not to go with the what if this had happened, what if that had happened. I'm trying, just the screaming is going over and over. And then in a bit, the screaming becomes someone else's screaming in my head. This is all in my head. I'm thinking, who is that? And I realize it's me. When I was screaming, when she was being born, I can hear the screaming. And I was I mean, all bets were off. Hey, big lie about how it doesn't hurt if you breathe right, or you're spiritual enough. It hurts. Take the drugs, okay? So I screamed my head off, and this nurse voice cut through, you know, Planet Pain, where I had gone. And she said, Elizabeth, that's my name. Right? And she said, stop screaming and push. And I did. And Katie came out. And there she was, on dry land, more or less, for the first time. And the two of us took off down what they call the river of life. And so far, we have eluded the cougar.